Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. It is April Fool's Day, and what perfect movie to watch on April Fool's Day is Morbius. That is the perfect one to watch for April Fool's Day, because you go in, you think you're gonna see a really good movie, and then you just watch an hour and a half of shit, absolute shit. I mean, this is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It is easily the worst movie of the year so far. It is worse than the Batman. It is worse than The King's Daughter. It is worse than The Requiem. It was absolutely terrible. And it's unfortunate because I was willing to to like it. Like, I was looking forward to seeing a Morbius movie, because I really like the character. You know, he's basically Marvel's Dracula, although they do also have Dracula in Marvel, but he's a very cool character. Instead of having to feed off blood, he just needs people's plasma, which is pretty cool. And I love, like, the look of him, the long black hair and the cool costume. You know, he just looks so cool. And he's a great different villain to Spider-Man. And he has the typical Spider-Man villain origin story where he has an experiment that goes wrong, and so sad, sappy, tragic stuff with that. And the only time I've really seen him, because I haven't read the comics very much, I did see Morbius in the animated series, though, in the 90s, the Spider-Man animated series, and I really, really liked that episode. It was boring at first, but then it got really good, and I really liked the story, and I thought, what a cool character. Like, what a great villain character. Like, Spider-Man has some of the best villains. They're really, really cool, unique, fun characters. And this movie takes a fun, unique character and makes him dull and boring. They take this human vampire character and they just make him this really, really weird, like, alien guy. Like, the thing is, let's talk about Jared Leto, because he's a very mixed bag of an actor. I saw him in American Psycho. He was pretty good in that, but then again, he doesn't last very long in that movie. But still, he gives a pretty good performance for the little time he's in. And in Requiem for a Dream, he's fine, but I hate that movie. Some And then, what was that one he won a Best Supporting Actor award for? He was pretty good in that. And then in The Little Things, he was actually really, really good. I think that's my favorite performance that he's given, is in The Little Things, when he plays this serial killer, possibly. And he was really, really good in that movie, and they totally wasted him. And I was really sad that they didn't make a better movie with that performance, because he was creepy in that movie. Of course, people didn't like him in that either. They said he was so funny, he was bad. And then in the Suicide Squad, ugh, played a terrible Joker, absolute joke of a Joker, worst Joker of all time, easily. And then he came back to play the worst Joker of all time a second time in Zack Snyder's Justice League, in the shitty post-credit scene in the shitty movie. And he played him once again in that. He sucked in that, so he's really a mixed bag. And he's really known for just getting into his characters. I really couldn't see that in this movie at all, honestly. Like, if he got into his character at all, I really couldn't tell. Because it opens up, and the first shot that you see of him, he's like in a suit and he's accepting an award, and it's just like looking at an alien trying to be a human. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like an alien that's inside of a human suit, and he's like really upset about it. You know, he would be perfect if they did an X-Files movie where there's like an alien pretending to be a person, and he's trying to evade the bounty hunter, like in the show when they had the baseball player one. He would be perfect for that because he's really like an alien rather than a person. And the closest comparison to a person I can make is he really acts like a female to male transgender person. Like the performance, he's just so weird and so inauthentic and so fake and phony and goofy and dumb and weird and like he's got this little scene where he's like doing origami with this kid, and it's just so awkward and weird to watch because it's like, you know, I'm looking at this person on screen, and it's like there's something off about that person. There's something weird about that person. There's just something strange about that person, and it does not work, unfortunately, because I was excited to see him be Morbius. I wasn't closed off to him being a really good Morbius, but the script was terrible. I mean, this was like cliches 101. Every fucking cliche in the book is in this movie. Every single one. All the lines of dialogue are basically fill in the blank lines from every movie in history. All the characters are paper thin. The plot is dull. The story is dull. The action is show-offy CGI crap rather than good choreographed action. And as a vampire movie, ooh, this is worse than Twilight. Honestly, like the first two Twilight movies, the ones I've seen, those are better vampire movies than this. That's how fucking bad this movie is. It's so bad. Like, why did they make these terrible movies? Why did they torture us audience members with these terrible fucking movies? Like, what? I want to pay money to see a good movie, not this trash. And so I don't know what to really say without giving plot away, and so I'm going to finish up my non-spoiler review and then give my food review and then go to spoilers, okay? Just don't see this movie, okay? Just don't. Please do not waste your money seeing this piece of shit movie. It was so bad. It was so bad. This is worse than anything. It's horrible. Like, just every single fucking thing about this movie, every single element is terrible. Every single aspect of filmmaking is terrible in this movie. There are so many shots in this movie where the filmmakers think they're really smart and clever, and so they point the camera behind objects with Jared Leto in front of the objects, and it's like, ooh, look how clever we are, because you can't see Jared Leto. It's like you're peeking behind an object at him, like, ooh, I'm really impressed, showing that, what do they call that BS? The depth of field bullshit. I mean, this movie, it was so bad. You call this a vampire movie? You call this a Morbius movie? Fucking stupid ass movie. And let's talk about the casting. Because we already talked about Jared Leto being cast as Morbius. Terrible. Terrible. He's like an alien. He's like Roger from American Dad type of alien. He's so bad. He's not scary. He's not believable. He's not sympathetic. He's not likable. He's a nothing. he's just like an emo little. He's like a what is he like? Let's make an apt comparison. Like, just ugh. I feel slimy and gross after watching this bad movie. And it's funny because whenever he spoke, his lines always came off as unbelievable. They always came off as very, very weird. Like, he's like a robot and he's just told to say these lines. Like, someone pulls out a typewriter through his rib cage and they type out his lines, and he's just like, I am Morbius and I am the human vampire. And then there's this really so many cringeworthy, funny, goofy lines that he says throughout the movie that he completely just butchers and makes them sound even worse than they already are. I mean, they have this really bad scene where, like, him and his love interest, they're sitting somewhere and he's like, I think he said, like, I heard Dracula's playing downstairs. And she's like, I always thought Dracula was really romantic. Like, ugh. Okay, that's what this whole movie made me want to do. Like, this whole movie, I just wanted to puke. Like, this movie was the equivalent of having diarrhea and puking at the same time, and you just want to get it all out. You just want to get all the garbage out of you so that you can, feel better after that trash. I just, like, the whole movie, it was so bad. And then the love interest, Martina, is that her name? Martina Bancroft. In the comics, the cartoon that I saw, she's a beautiful, blonde woman, white. And then guess what they do? 2022, tokenized Martina Bancroft. Good job, Hollywood. You tokenized and ruined another character. And so we had this tokenized Martina. She was very boring and dull. She never made me fall in love with her, that's for damn sure. Which is the primary job of a love interest character, is that they're supposed to make you like them so that you don't want anything bad to happen to them. For instance, in the first Amazing Spider-Man, you definitely really end up liking Gwen Stacy because she's a likable character and you don't want her to get killed by the lizard. Okay, that's one instance. But this tokenized Martina Bancroft, like, ugh. Like, just a terrible character. It's too bad for the actress. This is going to be a stain on the rest of her career, known as the tokenized Martina Bancroft. And then you had, what was that guy's name? Simon Stroud, the detective who's supposed to be like a, I guess in the comics he's Morbius'S antagonist in a way, and he's a vampire hunter. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I do know, like a lot of normie losers. But he's another tokenized character. Got Tyrese Gibson from Fast and the Furious playing this tokenized, destroyed character, complete trash character. Him and his partner, his stupid, dweeby, nerdy, glasses-wearing partner, them walking around, investigating, like, just... It's so bad. Like, they're walking around just saying the most stereotypical detective lines possible. I got a clue. Do you have a clue? I think I have a clue. Ha 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 ha. Reference. Ha 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 ha. And there's this one cringeworthy part where the dweeby nerd detective, he takes out a picture and he's like, I'm sorry about how graphic this picture is, but you're a doctor and you really know how people look like on the inside. And he's like, can you tell me, are these marks on this picture, are they vampire marks? And it's like, just Like, God, why do you writers suck so badly? Just, it's so embarrassing, these terrible lines. And then he says, like, some sort of a medical term, like, what was it? Expulsion, exmoliation, exultation, whatever the fuck he said. And when they look at him funny because he said a medical term. And he's like, he adjusts his glasses a little bit. He pushes them up on his face, and he's like, I looked that up on the internet. And it's like, just, ugh, ugh. I am shivering with terrible movie cringe. And then you have basically this, and then you have his, I don't know what he is. He's like a surrogate brother, Milo, played by Matt Smith. I guess he's a popular British actor. He's been at Doctor Who. He had the worst scene in the entire movie, let me tell you. He was the stereotypical best friend character in a movie, and I won't say anything else about that. Very, very cliche plot points with him. He did a terrible job. He was a terrible trash, cringeworthy, cliche character. He has this scene that is probably, guys, let me tell you, I have seen some bad scenes this year. Bad movie scenes. This scene with Milo, it is the worst scene of the year so far. It might be the worst movie scene I have ever seen. Basically, Milo is doing this dance with his shirt off in his apartment, and he's like dancing around, and he's like, and he's like a living cartoon. And then he gets down on the floor and he's doing like push-ups, and he's like, it is the worst scene I've ever seen. It is the worst. What's really weird too is that there were a lot of comparisons in this movie that I saw to American Psycho, and it's too bad because honestly, if I'm thinking about like what could have made a good Morbius movie, like making an American Psycho type of movie, but with Morbius in it, that actually sounds like a really good movie premise. So it's too bad that that's not what we got. We just got this stupid PG-13. That's another thing. Babyish PG-13 kiddie garbage. And I mean, God, if you're a grown adult going to see this movie, please just don't. Just stay home and watch a real movie. Watch American Psycho, okay? Don't go out and see this movie if you're a grown adult. I mean, if you're looking forward to this movie, sorry, but it's terrible. And don't torture yourself, because if you do, please don't blame me, okay? Because this is just the worst. It is the absolute worst. I could barely sit through this fucking garbage. And then you had Jared Leto, and his powers are like, I don't even know what his powers are. Like, they were just these nondescript student film CGI powers where he can punch people and black dust comes out of his hands because he's emo. And so he like flips around and punches and scratches and dances around like a ballerina, and all this charcoal dust comes out of his body somehow. And it's like, ooh, this is magical charcoal dust. That's Jared Leto. You got this magical charcoal powers. And then he has like this banshee scream, and it I'm just shaking my head right now at how. And so now I'm going to rate this bad movie in terms of food. I mean, I hated this movie. The thing is, though, is that I'm not a Morbius comic fan. I don't know about him in the comics much, so I can't really be that angry over him compared to like Batman. But it is still terrible. And then there's 2 post-credit scenes those were even worse than the whole movie, almost, because you had a very talented actor. I won't say anything else, but he's forced to say these lines that are so piss poor that it just made me want to like punch the screen, because I was so mad that he was forced to say these terrible lines. I'll just give you guys a hint though, if you guys want to know. If you don't, then just mute it for 10 seconds. Just think about the movie that I reviewed earlier this year, The Dream Team. He's one of the people in that movie. I won't say anything else. So for a food review, it's really tough, because what do I rate something that is just so terrible that it's almost indescribable? Like, it is almost... It, I would never watch this movie again. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And it's sad, because I didn't think this movie would be bad. I thought, even though it's Sony sucks. They make shit movies, and I'm so sick of Sony and their shit movies, and making the audience think that they're finally going to do something good, and then they go to the theater, spend money, and then they're effed in the ass by Sony. F Sony themselves. What type of food to describe this movie, though? It's really tricky, because I'm thinking about too the fact that this is yet another one of those comic book movies where the people who made it, you could tell they're not fans of the material. You can tell that they have no affinity for these characters. You can tell that they don't like the comics. They don't like comic book fans. They don't like anyone except themselves. And the only reason they did this movie is to boost their own fucking careers. And I just can't stand that type of thing. I can't stand that type of behavior. Because if I was asked to make a Morbius movie, the only way that I would do it is I would spend probably like months reading every single Morbius comic that ever existed. And being like a super fan so that I would know about the material. That is the only way. Other than that, I would refuse to make this movie, because I would not want to make a shitty, inferior movie just to boost my own career. I mean, that would be such a sellout move. And all the people who made this movie or involved in making it, they're a bunch of fucking sellouts for this trash. This dull, boring, crusty, dusty, dirty trash. I don't know why I said dirty. There's nothing dirty in this movie. That's another issue, it's another 2022 movie where there's no sexuality in it whatsoever. And it's a problem, because they spend the whole movie talking about how, well, with this vampires, and one of the traits of vampires is that there's sexiness to their stories in some way, shape, or form. Just thinking about my favorite movie of all time, Fright Night, you had a scene where Jerry was he was doing something with another woman in a window, and then he bites her, and it's like a really, really sexual, awesome scene. And it's too bad that this movie didn't have anything like that in the whole movie, except for like this cringeworthy, awkward, weird, dumb, goofy scene where Milo is doing naked push-ups, or not naked, but shirtless push-ups. I would give this movie... Okay, I have the perfect review. I really like corn dogs. Corn dogs are really good. Once in a while, they're not very healthy, but they're really good once in a while. And there was one time where we accidentally bought beef corn dogs at the store. And if you guys know anything about corn dogs, never buy beef corn dogs. You always want to buy the pork and chicken corn dogs, whatever they are. Never beef. And we got them, and they were probably some of the grossest things we've ever eaten. They were so gross tasting. It's like, what is this? Like some sort of mystery meat? Like, what the hell is this? Is this is this Jared Lesbo's alien skin that he shed off and then they put it in a grinder and then they made some sort of a glue out of shit and stuff and then wrapped a corn dog like dough around it and deep fried it? Like, that's what it tasted like. It was that bad. All the ketchup and mustard I put on it couldn't mask that shit flavor. And so that's this movie. It is like eating sorry about that. It is like eating beef corn dogs. Ugh. So, spoilers. This movie started off with like an origin sequence. It wasn't even like a properly done origin sequence. It was very rushed because with Sony movies, with a lot of modern movies, they're all forced to just be at maximum like an hour and 30 minutes max. So they had to really rush through this stupid origin sequence where you have every cliche in the book. You have like a sick kid and he's really sad and he's watching other kids have fun outside, and then he gets bullied and all this stuff like that. Like, just every single thing that happens in this movie is a cliche. The action, I could barely even tell what the action was. It just looked like, it reminds me of on YouTube, if you look up a tutorial about how to do action scenes on After Effects or something like that. Like, that's what the action in this movie looked like. It wasn't some sort of good action at all. In fact, this might be some of the worst action I've ever seen in a superhero movie. In general, I think that they should never make a sequel to this movie. Hopefully it doesn't make any money. But if they do try to do something with Morbius in the future, I would say that the best route would be to make a Morbius Netflix type of show where it's R-rated, it's mature, it's got blood, violence, all that stuff that adults love. And I would say that that would be the best option because kids, I don't think kids are going to like this movie. You know, why did they just make everything PG-13? They just want to make everything for kids. It's sickening. It's like the adults get nothing. What did the adults get? They didn't even get the Batman. The Batman was supposed to be rated R, and then they fucked up with that. And then they fucked up with this too. They fucked up with Venom. They don't even make a rated R Venom. What a bunch of pussies. I didn't even watch either of the Venoms because I'm not watching a PG-13 Venom. A pussy Venom, basically. And this is a pussy Morbius. You have this whole plot where his brother, surrogate brother Milo, they're both sick with the same rare blood disease, and Jared Lesbo's a scientist, and he helps out kids with blood diseases, and then he does this experiment on a boat, and then all the people on the boat get killed. Like, just... And the twist is that Milo, the best friend, he's the bad guy. And it's like, wow, I've never seen that done before. Wow. What an original story. What a completely clever and original story. Like, just... why even bother? Like, why even bother continuing to talk about this trash? Like, you guys, if you watch this movie and you can't just look at what's right in front of you, okay? Like, it is... I shouldn't even have to say that this is bad. That's how bad this is that it is objectively bad. Objectively bad. So anyways, I really hope that the next new movie that I review is better because I am just getting so sick of reviewing these terrible modern movies. Like, they get clicks. That's the only reason I even watch them. I don't care about these trash movies. Like, you guys, just go back and watch good older movies, okay? Back when they actually put effort into making movies. Like I mentioned earlier, the movie The Dream Team, it is a very, very good comedy movie. It has Michael Keaton in it, and it's a very good movie. And just go watch that. Don't watch this. Stop watching modern movies. Let's just pull the plug from Hollywood and just stop watching modern movies because they really don't deserve our support. They don't deserve our attention because this is what you get. You get these half assed products where they're not fans of the material. They take the characters, they tokenize them. You have that very infamous blonde haired Martine Bancroft character. She's completely ruined, tokenized. She has a stupid line where she talks about eating crappy hospital bed jello. Like, just what are we doing? Like, it really pisses me off. Like, I know that I'm not expressing it very much, but it really pisses me off, these terrible movies. And and now, guess what I'm gonna have to do now? I just watched Morbius. It lasted an hour and a half of time I'll never get back. Guess what I'm gonna have to do now? I'm gonna have to go watch Halo. Another thing where they didn't respect the fans. They made a show that has nothing to do with Halo, and the contempt, the disrespect that Hollywood has for the material that they adapt, it really sickens me. It really, really sickens me. And it's embarrassing. It's so bad. It really pisses me off. Like I'm being dead serious. Like these people, they're evil. They're evil people, and they don't like you. And they don't like the stuff they adapt. And I'm sick of all the people who give them excuses. And I'm sick of giving them 1,000 chances to slap me in the face, like Will Smith when he physically assaulted Chris Rock at the Oscars. I'm sick of giving these greedy jackasses in suits